Burns, Baby Burns, I have to say, is a really great title. I love the title of this episode of The Simpsons. The episode itself I quite enjoy as well. It doesn't seem to be the most popular. It's got 7.6 out of 10 on IMDb, which in itself is a really good rating. But compared to a lot of other episodes that have 8 or 9 out of 10, it's obviously not as well loved as some. I'd love to know what you think of it. It's the 4th episode of the 8th season of The Simpsons. It aired originally on the 29th of December 1996 and is directed by Jim Reardon. And as chance would have it, Homer ends up giving this guy called Larry a lift to Springfield because Larry is looking for his long-lost father, and his father happens to be Mr. Burns. And straight away, once I got past the whole coincidence aspect, I thought, yeah, this is going to be quite interesting. I've seen this episode a few times now, but I feel like I felt the same way with both times watching it. And that is that I quite like Larry, but I don't love him as a character. I liked learning more about Mr. Burns' past, but at the same time, maybe I don't believe that this part of his past is canon. You know, some episodes of The Simpsons we learn bits of information, and that information is then kind of carried across the seasons that follow. With this one, I feel like you could take it out, and it wouldn't really change anything about Mr. Burns' character, his personality, his past. I feel like you can take it or leave it, and it won't hinder your enjoyment of any other episodes. But we learn about how Larry came to be and what his life was like leading up to that point, and he's definitely not enjoyed the lavish lifestyle that Mr. Burns could have offered him. And Larry is he doesn't necessarily have the strongest work ethic, which to Mr. Burns's credit, he's earned his money by being very intelligent and working very hard. And with Larry, we don't necessarily see that same personality. But Larry wants to do everything he can to be his father's son, but also enjoy that wealth. And he takes some pretty drastic measures, and I won't go into too much detail in case you haven't seen it, for whatever reason. But Larry's plan does heavily involve The Simpsons, and obviously that's kind of something I expected, and I think it developed very well, it works very well. It's a relatively interesting narrative that flows. Larry as a character I liked. As I said, I didn't love him, but I think he's pretty decent, pretty well-rounded. He's voiced by Rodney Dangerfield. He's a character who, if he came back into it, which he might have done. I'm only up to season 13, so for all I know, he does come back later. If he came back, I wouldn't be bothered, but if we never saw him again, I really wouldn't care. But as an occasional or one-off character, I think Larry's interesting enough. And Burns, Baby Burns, is a great title and a pretty decent episode.